Today is Saturday, February 4th, 2023. I'm Brian Ross, and we're at the Sharon Historical Society. Pleased to be speaking with Jano Fairservis. Jano, thank you very much for being here.
Oh, I'm so happy to be here.
I was just asking you, what kind of a name is Fairservis?
Oh, Fairservis is a Scottish name, like Fairbanks. But never. When I first heard it, I had a hard time imagining it.
Tell us how you and your family first came to Sharon.
We came to Sharon because my husband Walter Fairservis uh, was able to get this wonderful job as the head of the anthropology department at Vassar, and we looked around New York, Poughkeepsie, but we had met in Sharon. We had met at Camp Sloan and knew Sharon in 1947. So we came back um, to Sharon and looked, and Fran Kelsey was real estate lady, and she found a wonderful house for us because my husband was a compulsive book collector, and having the space that we found in this house on South Main Street was just super. And I had a big costume collection. He had his big book collection, and we were both theater crazy. We were both uh, loving to put on shows, and the Playhouse was right around the corner. I could walk around the corner, and I worked there. We both did. Uh, and then the Episcopal Church, when we first arrived, uh, we had put on a production of T.S. Eliot's Murder in the Cathedral, and I had the costumes and everything. And we got to know some people, and we said, let's put on T.S. Eliot's Murder in the Cathedral in the Sharon Episcopal Church. And that was the beginning of all of the theatrical things that we kept on doing as we lived here. And that was in 1968.
1968.
Yeah.
It was a turbulent time in this country.
It was a turbulent time. I think that the 70s, we were really isolated from the kind of atmosphere of the 70s here. And there was a really wonderful sense of the ministers were very ecumenical, and we put on a Christmas pageant with all of the churches taking part, and the kids in the Sunday school all pulled together, and everybody was part of this pageant on the green with Mary riding on a donkey and costumes and scripts and everything, and that was one of the things that got me to know people all around the town too. Great.
Let me take you back to Camp Sloan. What was it like then? How did you come to be at Camp Sloan?
Summer after my freshman year at Skidmore, looking for a job, and just that seemed to be the perfect thing. And it was just the landscape really has not changed at all. The whole thing was a wonderful summer for me, and that's where I met my husband Walter, who was just fresh out of the army, and he was studying archaeology, and still had some time to go. Uh, And I think Cat Sloan is very much the same as it was in that time.
Did you think at the time we'll come back here one day?
At the time, not I'm not a person who makes plans ahead. So it but it turned out that we were able to, and when we got the chance, we did, because the Sharon Green with all of the elm trees and the way it looked, it was just exquisite. And the whole thing were there were lilac bushes planted all the way up and down the green at one time, and uh, we saw them slowly age out through the 70s, 80s, 90s, 30 years. Yeah.
Is it
But
still pretty to you on the green?
oh yes, the whole aesthetic of this town is just so appealing. It's great. As an artist, of course, that's high on my list of life wishes, is to live in a beautiful place.
And how much has it changed since 1947 or when you moved here with your husband?
Not at all. When I was designing this quilt, I took photographs of all the houses all along, and made drawings of them and squared them off, and made patterns for square. But the they haven't changed. The houses, some of them may have added or subtracted shutters, but everything is historical district.
So the houses haven't changed. Have
No,
the people changed, do you think?
I don't know. We were in a great time here, and I have no idea of, because my kids took part in the parades. We all did a lot of um, kind of presentations at the Sharon Historical Society with everybody. We made mob caps and aprons and fish shoes for ladies, and had everybody. And I had a stack of three-cornered hats, and just for games, and I guess they were fundraisers. I mean, that and the uh, as Betsy said, taking part in communal celebrations of life was really a major part of our contribution to Sharon. I don't know. It was just as the people who volunteered, uh, fire department and ambulance, the people who volunteered with this lighter side of life, this adding to the celebration of community. Um, it sort of hits you in the heart, uh, and you're willing to put in the hours, hours and hours and hours of work, but it's fascinating work,
Right.
and the uh, we were just very lucky to find this spot, I must say.
What was it like to raise children here? What were the challenges and the joys?
Ah, the joys. I had four little blonde girls, and they because we found a big house, everybody had their own bedroom, and there was plenty of room to. When we first moved in, with not much furniture, they were riding bicycles around the in winter in the downstairs, and It was just really. Then we had a barn, and Walter, when we were moved here, we were uh, East Coast people. He was working at the American Museum of Natural History, and we'd moved out to Seattle as he was director of a museum there. And then we came back for the Vassar job. And then we um, did the um, uh, what's my train of thought?
Well, you're talking about raising children.
Raising the
Joyce,
children with,
yeah.
yes, raising the children. They were just at an age when he had gotten them some ponies out there, which uh, were a friend of ours at the zoo shipped the ponies back here so the kids could have them. And then we had all kinds of activities that they could be in, and they could really run wild. We had a lot of woods in the back, and then the kids would, if the ponies got loose, we were walking on land of everybody all over the South Main Street, and and nobody ever shooed us away or was of course, if you are adorable blonde girl and chasing ponies, that's one thing. But there was this one great sense of safety, and the house I had this atmosphere of safety and loving community in it. It was great. After my husband died, I had it as a bed and breakfast for 5 years, and trying to get some, when you accumulate stuff,
Right.
trying to find new homes for stuff when you're going to have to downsize. Anyway, I never locked the doors. I never had to worry about the people who came to the bed and breakfast. There was this sense that it was cared for, and that you would be cared for. Because my husband had to leave for expeditions sometimes 2 or 3 months at a time.
Oh, my goodness.
In the middle of the winter, because it worked out to go to Egypt, and that house had us all feeling perfectly safe.
Given all the good times, were there ever times that weren't so good where you worried about Sharon or worried about what was happening
I didn't worry about it. The Because there was so much community involvement, I uh, and because it was so slow, there was no greed to pull in tourists, or no greed to create a bigger population, and the heck with what it meant to the balance of people. There were old families that were on perfectly good terms with new families, so that it I didn't I of course, I'm not one who is prone to worrying, uh, except for global warming,
here? Right.
but
And what do you think it is that keeps the town so vibrant like that, where people do come together?
I think it is the fact that in our isolation, there is not, uh, there has not been a sense that we have to grow. Uh, and there has never been, there was always the people who brought wealth from far away and built the great houses in South Main Street, and always stable families in farm families, and in the shop owners. There was just so much stability there, but not greed.
Hmm.
And I think that that is why I loved it, and why it has remained stable.
And what do you think is going to take to keep it like that?
Well, teaching the younger generation that uh, you they dream of being uh, a millionaire instead of just having a good life. I mean, there's just so much propaganda now to make kids more competitive and more inclined to want to like if they have a restaurant, then they have to have branch restaurants. That kind of attitude toward life, to live a good life, um, and uh, stories and things that kids were exposed to in my youth were always toward having uh, contributing to the world, contributing whatever talents you had, whatever energy you had, whatever good luck you had, went into making a better world. And there is so much guff, so much messing up and muddying of the attitude toward the United States, for one thing, uh, thinking that there that somehow not going into the 21st century of technicalities and things like that is going to changing with the changing times, finding ways of balancing the ecology, saving the old trees, because people have just in this recent one generation learned how so much about trees and how much they
Yeah.
mean to human life and the whole pattern of life on Earth. And if you still think you can cut down trees, if you still think you can burn up stuff, uh, it just means that the kids didn't get a good education. Nobody kept them learning to keep on learning.
So, what was the greatest production that you put on here at the Playhouse or elsewhere?
The greatest production that I put on was a celebration of in 1976. We had a town green, we had a festival on the town green with everybody in costume. And I wrote a script. I had broken an ankle, so I had time, and I wrote this script of the festival. And then when we had the celebration of uh, was it 250 years of Sharon? And then we did a production at the Sharon Playhouse. There again, I wrote a script, and we had the scenes, and all of the selectmen played the parts of the selectmen, and at the time of when they were uh, well before the um, Revolutionary War.
Right.
There was a sense of the personalities, because well, being a part of the Sharon Historical Society was such a plus because I got this sense of these people as real people and names, and when we did the productions, we gave everybody the name of one of the people who had lived in the town at the time, and the historical uh, play was different scenes. Uh, when Webster was teaching uh, school in the attic uh, of the Weatherstone, yeah, and all of these familiar landmarks were, um, uh, you know, we showed the continuity of the growth of the town.
You really mastered the history of Sharon to do all this.
Oh no, I'm not.
Sounds like
And
it.
I'm not a scholar, but I just got so enthusiastic about telling the story. I guess I'm more of an illustrator and a storyteller. Yeah.
And what are some other great moments at the Playhouse that you recall?
At the
And what do you think is the future of the
There again, have not we been the most lucky in the world with having people and with theater? There's always so much that can go wrong, and that and finding smart people who can balance the expenses of putting on a show with what you can get from an audience and what you can get from the interested patrons. And this is we've just been very lucky because when Judson Phillips built the theater there, we came in to work for him when we were here, and we were members of the SCAF, which was Sharon Creative Arts Foundation, and we ended up uh, doing a couple of seasons ourselves uh, with my daughter, Tevi, my oldest daughter, had a little theater company called Kings and Couriers Theater Company. So we used their theater company legal, you know, tax number to buy things when SCAF had kind of mismanaged a bit and kept the theater going. And then there's always been the wonderful tri-arts group that came in, and they were kept things going and knew how to balance popular stuff with um, things. I think even when we were there, there were a few plays that were just a vanity thing for one of the management people. One of the men would wanted, oh, I've always wanted to do such and such a play, you know. Well, we didn't. Now they've got a really nice balance. Now they have the teaching of the theater, and that is um, huge. Um, learn because it contributes in the same way that my upbringing did when I was drawn in to doing shows at benefit, you know, in and uh, the use of pretending and being somebody else and that kind of thing is something that young people can learn, and it gets you through all kinds of things, and the there again, it's in the education system where they stopped in some cases putting so much into music and into um, a theater, but in the high school they still put on the musicals, and sometimes that's best thing you ever did, best time you ever had being in high school was when you were in the show.
Sharon has always drawn people who are creative in the arts. Why is that? Is it the beauty of the town? What is it about it, Sharon, that one
It
of
would
its
be the beauty.
the beauty?
Hmm. And also, I don't know. Uh, Once they got there, being able to become a part of the creative juices of the the flow of the town. Um,
So, as you say, it's a unique mix of the creative people, the
mhm,
agricultural interests,
yeah.
former industrial interests, and then people who've come here from the worlds of finance and law as well.
Yes,
It's quite a
yes.
combination, right?
It is. It's a wonderful combination. That it reflects that idea of diversity that um, keeps things um, beautiful. And I mean, if somebody I was visiting for some reason had a ping pong ball finishing factory in their home, and that's about as industrial as we got. When you look back before, when we had an iron industry, and the I imagine that uh, the big factories, but the big factory, everything was such on a human scale in the historical thing, and with the cities and with the dreamers who want things to be out beyond human scale, that's when I think people get into trouble. But we're so isolated, and there's just not a population pressure that
Is there one thing about Sharon that you would like to change or that you wish had not happened in the last 30, 40 years?
I can't. I wouldn't change any. You know, I I just go along with the way the world grows. It's it, what I'm hoping is that because there's so many people in Sharon that love the beautiful trees and things that they will be um, contributing to the Audubon and to all of the people who are concerned with global warming and getting off of fossil fuels. Uh, I think that uh, now the like getting a field for electric for
Solar power?
solar
Hmm.
power. Yeah, uh, the Congregational Church in Salisbury has solar panels on the roof, and they're up here. You don't see them. We don't want solar panels necessarily on the roofs of the historical houses, but Sharon could think in terms of getting solar power or wind power. It's this caring more about the world as a whole than just whether my house looks funny or not. Uh, but everybody has been so happy to go along with the historicals, uh, you know, not not painting their house orange, you know.
Well, Jano Fairservis, I want to thank you so much for contributing to the beautiful town of Sharon and
Oh,
for being with us here this afternoon.
my
Thank you
pleasure.
so much.
My pleasure. My pleasure.